Je anilo premadano karma kacho.
Less bodily conscious, less thinking about myself, do I need rest, things like that. But he wanted me to see beyond that. Because, hey, face it, how many of us think that we are not the body, right? Theoretically, we understand that, but practically, no. So he wanted us to really look into this aspect very carefully. And it will be too late, when we are dying to think about all these things. It has to start now. It's because of that intensity. You could see how Srila Gurudev this morning, he said he really didn't like the academia, but he wanted to go to the Dham. That was his first few words. He said the first thing he wanted to do was stay in the Dham. And if you read Nectar of Devotion, you understand this is the mood of a devotee, a pure devotee. He wants to be in the Dham. He wants to listen to Krishna Lila. He's hoping against hope that Krishna will take him away from this material universe. Are we thinking like that? These are the questions that he prompts us to think about. That's his entire relationship with devotees and disciples has always been like this. And it always would be like that. He's kind to us, he's loving to us, because he wanted to show us actually the real love, the real pleasure that we're all seeking is beyond this material world. We can have the relationship, but only in Krishna conscious, in this material world. Unless we are Krishna conscious, our relationship is on a mundane platform. It's selfish, it's egotistical. He doesn't want us to be like that. Real love is, the true affection is actually Krishna consciousness. If you are in that mood, then as many devotees have already spoken before me, then that's the way we're going to spread quicker and faster. And this is a message that I feel that Srila Gurudev is wanting us to really understand deeply and have great conviction. We're all special. We wouldn't have taken up this process. And in having taken this process, why don't we take the other steps further? This is what he wants us to do. Don't stop. Don't hesitate. Take the next step forward. So, Srila Gurudev, I don't know how I'm here in this country. I was, as you know, I was graduated and I was doing very nicely. When I fix my mind on something, I don't deviate, and I wanted to do very well. I wasn't going to commit suicide or anything. But Srila Gurudev, he wrote to me nicely and just encouraged me. And then he just told me one day, this is how he said, do you think you'd like to travel with me? And then I said, yeah, I don't mind traveling with you. He said, yeah, you can travel with me for 1 year. And look where I am now. He's very sweet, just like Krishna is so sweet, Srila Gurudev is very sweet. And I believe very strongly, we have to have full faith in Srila Gurudev. Because even if he's not physically there, he sometimes comes into your dreams to give you instructions. Sometimes he's with your God brothers and God sisters. And just like he says, he takes shelter of his God brothers and God sisters. And I've seen that in my travels with him. And he actually practices what he preaches. And he has told us to do that. And so, I do that also now. I ask all my God brothers and God sisters. And I find that relieves a lot of my tension. I don't have to make the decisions anymore. So it's a fact, actually. And then in doing that, you find that Krishna is actually taking control of your life. Otherwise, you think you are the controller, which brings us back to the false ego. So, I'm so fortunate, and I thank Krishna and all the Vaishnavas that you are my spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
One wish that it would be nice so everybody can speak, but the time is short. I would personally like to hear each person's realization, but I would have liked to have heard some of the young devotees speak also. And There is this book which I would read every offering. But I'm also thinking about the fact that you're fasting. I already ate. I'm not in any difficulty. But if you're prepared to listen to more, then we can go forward. Because from my side, I have no problem. We have nothing really else to do today. And after we all get out of here and take a little prashadam, then everybody will just, consciousness is going to go down. So if you want to go a little longer, then you can have a few more persons.
Radha Krishna Prabhupada.
Namo Vishnu-Daya Krishna Snavabhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu-Daya Krishna Snavabhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I met my beloved Srila Gurudev, my spiritual master Tamal Krishna Goswami, in New York, where I was living. And I met him, I was already a member of the Hare Krishna movement. I had joined because of Srila Prabhupada. And because in my great distress as a materially conditioned soul, I recognized in Prabhupada's teachings that the Krishna Consciousness movement offered me some hope. New York is a great city. They call it the Big Apple sometimes. It's huge and sprawling and crazy. And it's a hub of the world. So as we heard Srila Gurudev speaking this morning of so many dhiras, persons fixed in Krishna consciousness, exalted personalities, it was my good fortune to see so many of them come through New York City and speak the message of Krishna consciousness. And as great a treasure as that was, that opportunity to hear from so many exalted souls, it was also utterly bewildering. I was utterly bewildered. How can I choose a spiritual master? How can I recognize who to take shelter of when they're all so great? And I was really utterly perplexed. But I also felt an urgent need to take shelter because I knew that it's not enough to join the Hare Krishna movement, but somehow I have to become Krishna conscious. So I was racking my brain, and two things helped. When I would hear Srila Gurudev speak, I noticed that I felt that I was entering into some kind of understanding of Vrindavan. Somehow, whenever he spoke, I felt like he was talking about Vrindavan. Vrindavan is here. There's some, Radha and Krishna are real, and Vrindavan is accessible, and it's because this Tamal Krishna Goswami was speaking. And that wasn't happening so much for me personally with other speakers, but it always happened when we spoke. And I thought, well, I joined the Hare Krishna movement because I wanted to enter into that Vrindavan. And every time he speaks, that's happening. This must be a clue. This person must be able to help me become Krishna conscious. Because when he speaks, I do. And another thing that helped me so much was that I saw that these are selfish reasons I'm revealing, because really, as Tamal Krishna Goswami spoke this morning, explaining, I mean, these are all such great souls. How can we say one is better than another? It's not correct. But for me, personally, I could see that Tamal Krishna Goswami takes so much care of each person that becomes his disciple. And I knew that was a double-edged sword because I could see that he's very heavy. And I'm like a pleasure seeker, a fool, I mean to say, seeking pleasure in the wrong places, and I don't like to be chastised, and I don't like it to be shown to me that I'm a fool and that I'm making mistakes and that I have the wrong conception. And I saw that part of his boldness and his fearlessness in speaking is that if he needs to speak chastisement to you, he'll do it. And he'll do it very powerfully. And I didn't want that, but I knew too that I need personal attention. I need guidance, I need correction, I need somebody who actually takes the time to know me and to know everybody that he's dealing with as keenly as Tamal Krishna Goswami does. So these things helped me to make up my mind and to understand. And he was so inviting with his mischievous smile, with his joking, with his words, with his being such a connoisseur and such an expert in every way. So this was some years ago, and I've tried to touch on a couple of other things that I think are very salient, very prominent. We all know that Srila Gurudev was sick a little while ago. And I want to tell you something personal again from my life. Some years back I was thinking, I hear, as we all have heard if we're listening, that we should feel attached to the spiritual master, that if the spiritual master were to depart from this world this day, we would cry inconsolably that my guru has left and I'm here. And when I was thinking about that instruction, I was thinking, I am completely deficient because I don't think that would happen to me. I think I'm such a hard-hearted, still conditioned person that despite all that he's done for me, despite all that my brain can understand about how great and deserving he is, I don't really think that that would happen. There's something deeply wrong with me. And somehow I'm fortunate to hear the clock ticking and knowing that I better not remain like that. So I did the only thing that I could understand to do. I prayed to Radha and Krishna. I think the thing that's wrong with me is I haven't done enough personal service for my guru to fall in love with him as a person, but more like as an idea. So I made that prayer, let me do some personal service for my guru and have some personal relationship with him so that I can have a heart that is in love with him and not just an idea. Then when he was sick, I learned that he wanted me to read to him every day. And I was quite amazed because I felt that he has so many disciples in this world who are more qualified than me to do any service, actually. And he's asking me to do this. And I could only suspect the cowherd boy and his girlfriend. They heard my prayer, and they were taking pity on me. And so every day I would read to him. And I think everyone knows that Srila Gurudev experienced in sickness things that all of us fear. Terrible pain, terrible distress of the body. And in that extreme condition, each day that I would go to see him, I marveled to see there's actually one thing that he cares about, to hear about Krishna. He was actually so debilitated at certain times during that illness that he couldn't really even speak. He could hardly walk, but he could hear. And so he wanted to hear about Krishna. He wanted to be Krishna conscious despite the extraordinary pain. And I could feel the concrete heart beginning to have some cracks in it as I was witnessing this extraordinary thing. Many times I feel that Krishna has answered my prayers, but this I thought was one of the most important answers to a prayer, because for months, every day, I would come and I would read to him. And I remember I mentioned how I feared to be chastised heavily, but I was chastised heavily one time because I didn't want to do my service. I wanted to go away to see my fiancée. And so when Guru Maharaj heard that, he was adamant, no, this is total Maya. And I thought, okay, I can't be disobedient, I can't miss my service, but I'm also trying to have this relationship with this person. I feel it's so important. So I ran away and came back in time to do my service. I thought I got the replacement for one day, and I thought that'd be okay. Such a hard feedback I got for that. But if I put it in correct perspective, I have a wife who is assisting me in my Krishna consciousness, who is a very strong preacher and a great teacher because of the mercy of my spiritual master. He made this arrangement for me. He actually he made it indirectly. It may appear that I made it, but actually he made it. I will attempt and possibly dig myself deeper. But I met my wife doing Sankirtan, and I was inspired to do Sankirtan because I realized what a mess I was making of my spiritual life some years back. And I thought, there's only one thing that might save me, is to go out and Sankirtan. And that I'm inspired by Tamal Krishna Goswami. He's the Sankirtan general. For those who are out on the front lines distributing books, they think of the pastimes of Srila Gurudev and the Radha Damodar Sankirtan traveling party. I was so inspired. I thought, I've messed up royally, and I've really thrown myself away. But if I do some Sankirtan, I will become purified somewhat and get on the right direction. And then too, the personality who is now my wife, another way in which Srila Gurudev is responsible and not me. Well, I was trying to live as a brahmachari. I was a brahmachari. And Srila Gurudev one time called me in and he said, you're living as a brahmachari, but I actually know that you have so many possessions, you have so many interests, you have so many things. It's a very peculiar renunciation, this renunciation. It's like not really authentic. Actually, maybe you should be in the Vyasa ashram. You are a preacher, but you're conflicted. And then he's such a philosopher too, and such an innovator and visionary. He was saying, the paradigm is when you reach the age that you've reached and you've been through the experiences you've been through, you don't know, you don't consider it. He said, but I've seen that that's not necessarily the best prescription. And it would be very excellent for you if you had the right wife. He said, but nobody would marry you. No one would marry you, except that girl you're preaching to in Arkansas. So he's saying that he wasn't behind it all. I'm actually revealing now. And he asked me to take shelter of my godbrothers and Sarvabhauma and Kaustubha were the persons he indicated. Actually, in his presence, I was very shy. And Kaustubha, who was a brahmachari at the time, I was also very shy to say to him. But to Sarvabhauma, later, privately, said, yes, it's a great instruction. I think I can follow that. I'd like to say, I talked about how Srila Gurudev would bring me into Vrindavan. As a lonely materialist, one of my favorite habits was to walk through gardens. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I would cut school when it just got too much, and I'd go to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. They have beautiful Japanese gardens and meditation gardens. And I would take some books of poetry there and I would read. Still, it was a materialistic endeavor, but I recognized that as a materially conditioned person, gardens and the beauty that they suggest and the peace and the place where I can study. So I've been walking through gardens and looking at lovely places. Now I have a companion who has the same proclivity, but we also understand about the garden world of Vrindavan, and that's the only real garden with actual beauty in it, and everything else is a reflection of that cheats us because we can't remain with it eternally. But I wanted to say a couple of other things, not about the help that Srila Gurudev has given me to become a whole person, but about this idea that he was developing about community, because I really feel that that's one of the strongest messages that he's giving us, is this sense of community. I've seen in Srila Gurudev that he keeps constant community with Srila Prabhupada. through memorizing his books. When I would read to him, I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita every day from Adi 1. And many times we'd come to a purport and Srila Gurudev would practically recite the purport. He would say, this says this, 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 this. That he's kept such close community with Srila Prabhupada that he's memorized Srila Prabhupada's books. And he's done more than memorize them as a parrot can memorize some phrase. But he's actually understood them. And then he keeps community with Srila Prabhupada by teaching Srila Prabhupada's teachings to us so that we can understand them. And then he keeps community with Srila Prabhupada also by exemplifying everything that's in the books, by showing by his living example that these instructions of his beloved spiritual master can be carried out because he's carrying them out. And likewise, he's keeping community with all the predecessor acharyas in our mind and showing us that that's what we should do. And then, as he said, he's keeping community with his godbrothers and godsisters who, in the physical absence of his Guru Maharaj, are his protection and his shelter. So this message of community he's emphasizing again and again. And one thing I was inspired to say as someone who's preaching, I preach because right now in our married life, my wife and I are far from this wonderful, vibrant community that has nourished and sustained us and still nourishes and sustains us, but we're in abstention. So in order to have some community of real Vaishnavas, we're preaching all the time, hoping that some of these people will catch it up. And one of the things that my wife and I constantly share with each other as we preach together is that there are people who can catch it up, and they come here with us, and they're the most fortunate. But there are so many people to whom we preach, and they can't catch it up. And it is probably in large part due to our failings that we're not such great examples. But we know too that it has a lot to do with they don't have a spiritual master who is absolutely fixed in the Siddhanta of the Vaishnavas, who loves his spiritual master absolutely unflinchingly, and who, even in the most extreme pain, only wants to carry out the order of the spiritual master. So time and time again, we meet people who think that they're enlightened and very advanced, and who are not interested in Prabhupada's books or Prabhupada's teachings. And we might be fooled because they do so many rituals, and they have taken spiritual names, and they have immersed themselves, but they can't follow any strict principles, even that their gurus may be following, because there's no love of Krishna at the heart of it. So, although we're absent from the community here, we are always in remembrance of the community here, and we're trying to expand that community by our preaching and keep our heads above water by that preaching. And at every moment we appreciate, above all else, that our Guru is totally fixed in love of Srila Prabhupada, all the predecessor acharyas, his godbrothers, his godsisters, all of his disciples who he has named as his helpers, his protectors. And I was so pleased this morning when he was speaking that he included the children. Because I was thinking, if I was a little girl or a little boy in the temple room this morning, I might think, well, what have I done? Because I'm just a little kid, and I just really want to play, and I haven't done anything. And why am I in this august place? And Srila Gurudev, and this was the characteristic that in part helped me come to him. He's attentive. He knows how the children may be feeling. And he wants to tell them, what you've done, you've taken birth to come here because you are great souls, and I'm thinking of you because you're also protecting me. And I see you as great Vaishnavas. So, I want to finish, I think, by saying this. Mark Twain, the American humorist, he said something to the effect, and please don't misunderstand this, I'll explain. But he said something to the effect that, when I was 18, my father was such a fool. But now I'm 20, and it's amazing how much he learned in 2 years. Now, I never took it that Srila Gurudev. I could see right from the start that he was someone I could trust and put my faith in, and he could help me to become Krishna conscious. But as the years go on, I think I never knew who this person is. I never saw his abilities. I never understood. So I realized that I'm not yet able to understand, but I'm in the most fortunate position to be under his care and in his loving glance. And I pray to always remain there and in the loving glance of all of you, because that's the only way I can enter this Vrindavan that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami ki.
Navini Shakti Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Gurudev ki jai. We're very lucky to have Srila Gurudev's association also in New Dwarkadam, Los Angeles. And coming from Los Angeles, I have a letter here from a couple. You might have heard stories of a couple disciples in Los Angeles that are in their senior age, or
2 days ago, yesterday or the day before, he described.
do you have the other microphone? Yeah. Okay. This is a letter from Vidura and Manjari. When he gave me this, he told me, tell Gurudev that I'm thinking of him every time. So I said, at least 3 times a day when you chant your Gayatri mantra. And then he said, more than 3 times. Every hour, I'm thinking of him. So let me read this. Our most beloved Gurudev, please accept our most humble, frustrated obeisances unto your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and to Srila Gurudev. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranitai and Sri Sri Rukamini Dwarkadish, and all glories to Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. Gurudev, we hope that you must be doing fine in your studies and must be also enjoying very good health. On the most auspicious occasion of your Vyasa Puja, Gurudev, please accept most humble, frustrated obeisances unto your lotus feet. From your most aged disciples, Vidura and Manjari, with our most humble and insignificant offering of 101 Lakshmi, in cash herein with Balaram. We both are confident that very soon you will be kindly visiting us at New Dwarka. As you did before, that makes us very happy to serve you with our heart's content at the very last end of our lives. Wishing you to be enjoying perky health and remarkable progress in your studies. We are your most humble servants, Vidura and Manjari. Hare Krishna. While I'm here, I'll just give a 2 cents. It's amazing that everything boils down to relationships. And this is the topmost relationship, guru and disciple, because it introduces you to our eternal relationship with God. So, in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava Gita, Prabhupada says that we should establish friendship and loving relationship with the spiritual master. So if somebody is very dear to me, I'd like to hug him. So when I was driving Gurudev to Santa Barbara in California, while driving I was thinking, how can I hug Gurudev? I mean, I'm rationalizing that I have a huggable body. If I was skinny, I should not even think about it. So, and I was thinking like this, and when I got his luggages out of the van, he immediately took me by his two arms. You remember that? He took me in his two arms, and he took me up in the air like that. I was looking down there and said, Gurudev, you're not that young. And he said, I could carry you. So, really, Gurudev is incredible, very special. Our relationship with Guru is very special. And Gurudev being our Guru is thousandfold special. So, Hare Krishna.
You can always be sure when Balaram speaks, everybody will be excited. Yeah, Balaram Prabhu is. So now we have Dr. Guru Bhakti Prabhu. She's coming in to speak.
I originally wrote a basic Puja offering to you, which I did not send. I originally wrote a Vyasa Puja offering to you, which I did not send. And I was thinking that maybe I'll just speak a few things from there. I wrote about when I went to England to help take care of Mother Kisita, who was going to have a surgery, and how you made all arrangements to take care of her during that time. I remember that when I was telling you about my flights, you said that you would come and pick me up at the airport. And when I landed, I was so shocked to see you waiting in the lobby. I couldn't believe that you took up so much time. And then you were revealing how you spent 2.5 hours just coming to the airport, then we drove in to see Kisita at the hospital. And you had taken so much, you did pay so much attention that even, you asked me to rest so many times during the ride. And you even brought breakfast for me in the car, so that after the ride I wouldn't be tired. And then after we went to the hospital, he showed me around London while we were driving. And then when we got into Cambridge, you showed me all the different historical places should be seen in Cambridge, taking the extra time. And Srila Gurudev was he was lamenting the fact that actually he cannot give as much time as he would like to some of his disciples, because the disciples who do the most service are too busy, and therefore he was lamenting that he cannot make the time, or there is not sufficient time to spend with him. And I was thinking that just just as we may have some desire to see Srila Gurudev, but just like Krishna, he has more desire to see us and give us association than we have. And that experience was very nice because that's just like a father, and showed me around where he lives and what he does. And then recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had been having some difficulty in my relationship with him. And I was so touched and shocked by the care and the attention he paid so that I can regain my spiritual health. I was thinking that the spiritual master has so many disciples, at least hundreds of them. And just this is Krishna wants every person to come back to Godhead. Similarly, the spiritual master, even one person is so important for him that if that person has difficulty with spiritual life, it's really to take up as much time as he can to help us come back. Baba, thank you for not giving up on me. And I apologize for you for not being the support you wanted me to be. Thank you very much.
Guru Bhakti Prabhu Ki Jai. And now we have Srila Gurudev's mother would like to say a few words.
I hope I can manage this. My son once said to me quite a few years ago, he was sorry that he had to disappoint me and not bring me grandchildren. But he said, in a way, I brought you many grandchildren. And I can only thank you for being such a wonderful, large family to me. Because that's how I feel when I come to Dallas. And I also want to mention that it's brought me many great personal friendships, and particularly one during the last year, and that's with my friend Kirtana. Thank you for being there for me.
Thank you very much.
Everybody feel what they have done. Some of you are thinking of it. What's your advice? Your advice?
Official day comes only once a year, so I give so much nectar twice.
Okay, let me done moments, please. Don't know I'm constructed the prison that
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Staya Tamal Krishna Goswami Well, it's been a while. Let's see, how do I start? And somehow, Srila Gurudev had the judgment that I was able to serve. And I will never forget the way the invitation to service came to me. I was living in Mexico, and it was about 11 o'clock at night. I was on the bus coming back from Mexico City to home, and my cellular phone rings. I pick up the phone, and he's there. He says, Madame Mohan, what are you doing? Well, I'm coming home from work. It's 11 o'clock at night. What are you doing at work? Well, Srila and I launched into this overblown explanation of how I was just about to make it. It's going to be great. And he said, yeah, He says, let's change the subject a moment. He says, tell me, how long are you going to live? Well, let's figure it out. I'm not sure. Well, do you think it's long enough for you to go back to Godhead at the rate you're going? Well, sure, no, I really don't think so. He says, well, you've come a long way in your discipline, your spiritual life over the last few years, but you're isolated out there. And, I just have been thinking about you, and I'm kind of thinking that you need a little more association. Okay. And I said, well, let me change the subject again. He says, tell me something. Can you serve a spiritual master? Can you take an order from your spiritual master? I said, yeah. He says, okay. In 3 weeks, I want you in England. Well, what about Krishna Shakti? I said. He says, well, what about Krishna Shakti? He says, okay. He says, I'm asking you. He says, of course Krishna Shakti, but I'm asking you. He says, you have to ask Krishna Shakti before you answer your spiritual master? I said, no. Okay. In 3 weeks, I want you in England. I said, well, what about my business? What about my house? He says, I didn't ask you about that. Okay, fine. So I came to Dallas and got my instruction. Srila Gurudev told me what he was looking for by way of housing and what was going on in Cambridge and so on. And he sent me off blithely, dumbly, to England. I show up in England, and I thought, well, it's no big deal. We'll find a house. And after all the real estate agents in Cambridge got done laughing, telling me that such a thing was impossible, you may as well try to put your hand into water and leave a hole, because to find the kind of property we were looking for. I said, no, you don't understand. I mean, I have a lot of faith. And I said, you don't understand. My spiritual master sent me to do this. And he wouldn't have sent me to do this if Krishna had not already arranged the property. I just haven't found it yet. And I discovered really quickly that in England there is no multiple listing service. Each real estate broker has their own listings, like they guard, like a dog guards a bone. And I discovered very quickly there were 27 individual real estate agents in the city of Cambridge. So I started making my rounds, and they all laughed at me. So the time is getting shorter. I was there at the end of May. Srila Gurudev's Vyasa was June 13th in Houston. And I was to come back with a positive response by then. And in the last week, I was saying, Krishna, come on now. We know it's there. That got happened. And lo and behold, about 4 days before I left, this real estate agent calls me up and says, there is this property. However, there are some huge drawbacks. The house is being lived in by 6 doctoral students at Cambridge right now. Their lease doesn't run out until October. Srila Gurudev is coming around the 10th of September. Their lease doesn't run out. In England, tenancy is everything. You can't throw the people out, no matter how badly they abuse the property or anything like that. But, it can't hurt. Let's see the house. We went to see the house, and it was exactly what Srila Gurudev had told me he needed. So I said, well, this is it. Well, to make a very long story short, we made it so uncomfortable for the people who were living in the house that gradually, one by one, they moved out, and I would take their space as they left. And then Krishna Shakti at that time showed up, and then I figured, well, we bring Krishna Shakti into the mix the whole way. We came in at that point, and there were a couple left, but we decided on the strategy of making them part of this wonderful experience, this renovation of this house that these kids have lived in for 6 years and just gutted. And we said, you know, we really need to do something about the kitchen. Would you mind very much if we replace the floor in the kitchen? No, not at all. So I ripped the floor out of the kitchen. And then I said, you know, we need to do something in the bathroom as well upstairs. Ripped the floor out of the bathroom. Well, now they have no bathroom, they have no kitchen. So they're still trying to get their doctoral thesis done. And I said, you know, it really might be a good idea with all this construction. I mean, these were kids, you know, they stay up all night. So I had the workmen come in at 6:30 in the morning, and they'd be hammering and banging and smashing and this stuff. So these guys were at a point where they didn't know what to do with themselves, and eventually, between coercion, bribery, threats, they all got out just in the nick of time. As a matter of fact, the last one moved about 3 days before Shulaguru came. His room was great. We didn't even have to do the floors because there was so much junk on the floor that he had actually never stepped on the floor in 6 years. So the floors were magnificent. So it all worked out wonderfully. And when Srila Gurudev came, he said to me something which I will never forget. He said, you know, this is the greatest deal in the world for you. He says, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is just surrender totally your freedom. So that was it. And I thought, well, you know, I mean, I think I've moved along that path pretty well so far, so what the heck, let's surrender it all. And the experience with Srila Gurudev was probably the peak experience of my life. Being in close association with him for that time was just incredible. The ability to be able to do the service such as it was, for us was great. Krishna Shakti was a trooper. I was what I was. And we did what we could to make the house work, to make the situation work. There were so many people that helped Shamala Saki. We couldn't have done it without you. She was tremendous. She was a trooper. Anything that was necessary was there. And the support of the devotees, Draupadi came, she helped us. Krishna Shakti will never forget Draupadi. In a week, Draupadi was the stormtrooper of the kitchen. She got everything going. She got us up and running. It was an incredible experience, and for me, it was such a validation of the fact that this is all real. It's not some mental construct, because there was no way without Krishna's intervention that any of this would have happened in the way that it did. All of it came at the right time. It changed my life, and has had repercussions in my life even to today. And I'm so grateful for the time of the association and the kindness that Srila Gurudev showed a wild man like me, an untrained Sudra, and he was so kind to me. I mean, you know, touching his plate with my hands, and I mean, just incredible lapses of etiquette that should have resulted in my immediate discharge. But in essence, Srila Gurudev was kind enough to me to explain to me that it's not my fault that I'm a blow birth and totally covered over. But that if I were to apply myself, there was just a chance, perhaps, that I might someday become a Vaishnava. I'm still trying, and haven't gotten it yet, but you know, we'll keep on plugging until it happens. So Srila Gurudev, thank you very much for
Krishna Shakti Prabhu ki jai, Madan Mohan Prabhu ki jai. Yes, Vijay.
Shri Guruji, I'm very happy to be here today. I haven't been here for maybe 3 or 4 years. In the past years, I've seen Shri Gurudev at least once a year, but that was usually in Houston. And I'm very happy. Actually, last year, I was also fumbling, like Radha Krishna Prabhu was speaking, in an attempt to come to see Shri Gurudev, get his association during the time of Thanksgiving. Being from Europe, although I've been in America for quite some years now, I still didn't get it. If you want to take a plane as a standby passenger, don't do it on Thanksgiving. That was a really hard lesson to learn. So after spending a day in the airport and another morning making another attempt, finally it dawned on me that if I wanted to have some association with my spiritual master, I probably would be smartest to take a Greyhound bus. So that's what I did. I spent about 24 hours on the bus on my way to Houston, and I remember in the early morning I passed on the highway, and all of a sudden I remembered, oh, when you're on this highway, if you pay attention, you can actually see the dome of Shishi Balakawachanji's temple. So I tried to pay attention, and when the bus passed that particular part of the highway, I saw the temple, and all of a sudden I felt this deep desire to come and be with the devotees here. And then later on, Dalini Shakti Prabhu and Manmohini Prabhu, they invited me, it's not so long ago, to come to Arkansas and participate in one of their preaching programs. And when I came there, I went straight to the kitchen, and I saw these beautiful pictures of Shishirada Kalachanchi. And again, I was, amazed. I thought, how did I forget how beautiful they are, and how could I forget so much love that I received coming here as a new person in Krishna Consciousness. And so I'm very happy to be here. And I arrived yesterday, and meeting so many of you, it really brought back very sweet memories. Gurudev really gave me a life. I was living in the Netherlands, playing in a punk rock band, and trying my best to enjoy a lot of misery, basically speaking. And he invited me very kindly to come to get to know each other. And after spending a month here, 2 months in Dallas and 2 months in Houston, that was, I believe, 1994, he, on the most auspicious day of Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Festival, he asked me if I didn't want to consider taking this up as a full-time activity. And I was actually very scared, because I thought, oh my goodness, what a question, what am I supposed to do, what am I going to get myself into? It's a whole new thing, but I took a few days and I thought, well, how can I refuse? It's such a wonderful offer, it's such a loving person asking me to do something with my life. Finally I can do something useful. And so all these memories went through my mind when I came here yesterday, and I feel very happy to be here. I'm very indebted to Gurudev for everything, and I'm also very indebted to all of you. I really feel like coming home, and I feel very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Rasa Manjari Prabhu ki jai. Now we'll ask Haridira Prabhu to speak.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhagavani Prachayani Nirvishesha Suniradi Asya. It is my great fortune that I have been told to glorify my spiritual master. Instantly, I can remember one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Brahmande Brahmite Kaun Bhajyevana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lathabiji. So, I myself fall in that category, that I was wandering through all the universes, all the planets, all the species of life in miserable condition. And still I am in miserable condition. But I am so fortunate that he accepted me as his disciple and gave me that Bhakti Lathabiji. Because without the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the conditioned soul cannot be delivered. In spite of my so many frailties and disqualification, he is so kind to me that in a subtle form he is giving me his inspiration to keep up with my sadhana. So I am so much indebted to my spiritual master, Tamal Krishna Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Haridira Prabhu ki jai. Glorifications.
I wouldn't be standing here now if it wouldn't be for us Manjari telling me not accept any sort of spiritual opportunity, so it's your fault only. Just let me think a moment. Well, yeah, from the heart is about love, and you were hearing lots about love and how much love you give to all of your disciples, to all of your dark persons, and how much you give yourself to us. yeah, this is just what I'm trying to say. That I was looking for love, and I was like searching everywhere. And the love I wanted was something that would stay with me and that would never go away from me. That kind of love I was searching for. And I could not find that everywhere. But when I met you in 1993 in London at the Manor, you touched my heart so deeply. And you opened that window to the spiritual world for me by your love, because your love is so, it's stable and it stays, and it's not changing. And this makes me so grateful, because due to your love, I'm able to believe that there's Krishna who loves me. This is a great present. Could ever imagine, so I'm eternally grateful and eternally indebted to you, and I just pray that I may eternally pay that back. Touch your faith.
Jai Guru Bhakti Prabhu Ki Jai.
We're searching for us. Dharma could also speak. How would you like to speak now?
Dharma Guru. Hare Krishna. I'd like to begin by offering my obeisances to my eternal spiritual master, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Sitting here hearing all these wonderful offerings is really unbelievable. The nectar and the mercy that we already receive from Guru is so incredible. And then to have a day like this, where our Guru is here and the deities are here and Kirtan is here. And it's incredible what we've heard from devotees. Kartikeya Prabhu, I was really moved by what he had to say, and all the devotees. It's amazing how just in what you hear, there's so many little things that affect you so much. But I'm grateful to be here, standing here, and get to speak to y'all and make this quick little offering to my Guru. Because recently I got to spend about 5 weeks in Cambridge trying to serve His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj as his driver and cleaning up and just helping around the house. And it was an unbelievable experience and changed my life forever. I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm very, very grateful that my Guru would give me this opportunity. I had this desire in my heart since I became a devotee to try to serve my Guru personally. And very quickly, actually, he gave me that opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful that he did that. And but I just wanted to testify to y'all the effect that this Krishna Consciousness movement and having a Guru, a bona fide Guru, what it can do for you and to you. Krishna will fulfill your desires. It's amazing. I got to go to England. After England, I went to India. I took a 2-month leave of absence from work, which was absolutely astonishing that I got off 2 months, amazing thing. But all these little things just fell into place. It was Krishna's mercy and Guru's mercy. And then I got to go to India for about 2.5, 3 weeks. And when I was still in England, Gurudev asked me if I had what my plans were. And I said, well, I'm going to go to Mayapur for a little while, then I'll go to Vrindavan. And he said, well, do you know anyone there yet?
I said, no, not really. He said, where are you staying? I said, I don't know, I'll just kind of find a place. And the questioning went on like this for a little while, and finally I just said, well, Gurudev, I'm just going to try to rely on Krishna. And Gurudev said, well, that's a good thing, but maybe we can help Krishna a little bit on this. We can make some plans for you. So, Srila Gurudev did that in an incredible way with Sarvabhauma, and I'm very grateful for his mercy too. Sarva is a very, very incredible soul, and he served our Guru so much. We owe him an incredible debt of gratitude. But by the mercy of Guru, I not only got to go to India, but I had a fabulous time in India. I didn't have any of the anxieties and difficulties that sometimes that would have come up if I hadn't had more plans. Because I had plans in place, I had a phenomenal trip, and it's affected me very deeply, and I'm very, very grateful. And Mother Kirtida too helped me to get to India. She had a very large hand in that. She has so many devotees have helped me to come closer to my Guru, but Mother Kirtida did so in such a very special way. She's very, very special, and anybody that would like to get to know her better, she's so merciful. The mercy is still flowing unbelievably. But that's all I can say in my small realizations. I'm very grateful for everyone's association. I pray that you'll always let me be in your association.
Prabhu ki jai.
Vishnupriya, would you like to speak?
Vishnupriya. Yeah, she's taking
Just briefly, there's sometimes we think that we're not doing very much preaching or things aren't happening in such a way, but when Gurudev got to Dallas and arrived, the hospital was sending so many different nurses to check on Kirtana and so many different things. I'm not aware of exactly so many different services they were rendering to try and help her. And one nurse in particular, when she came and witnessed the scene there, Gurudev came and so many devotees and the kirtan and the love exchange between Kirtana and Gurudev, she became a devotee right there on the spot. She starts chanting. She came the next day after she had a sariel with a japa, chanting japa there. Completely blew all the other nurses' minds. What's going on here? So I just wanted to say how wonderful you can see concrete that the spiritual influence of the internal potency given by the spiritual master and the association of devotees can deeply affect everybody. So we should all think that it's possible for us to preach, even to everyone we meet, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted, that whoever we meet we can preach to, and whatever our situation is, and actually have faith that Krishna will make an arrangement for those persons to become purified. Shri Gurudev ki jai.
She outside. Seva Priya. Seva Priya. Oh, she's here. Please come.
Well, I have nothing to say. Always at this time of year, I come to see you because I'm thinking of Michael Marsh. I'm thinking how he sent me to you because he has so much love for you and because you're aware you're speaking of that. And I know for many years I considered myself lucky that I wasn't your disciple, because you were just giving me love, and I would see sometimes other traits come out with other people, and now maybe your mood has changed and everyone experiences that love. But I still consider myself very lucky that I have you and I have my Guru Maharaj, and that he sent me to Texas to be with you. There's no other reason that I would be here. Certainly you're that. And every day I'm worshiping you on my altar as your disciples. And I want you to know that I always think of you. And thank you.
I always pray that because you have made Nashi Sevapri got her master's degree and an advanced education. So somehow I always pray that we can work together in education. I don't know how Krishna will make it possible, but in the main but somehow I like your association so much that I hope somehow Krishna makes it possible. Sevapri went with one of her god sisters to Vrindavan, who was living in Brighton. She served for so nicely for so many months. She's such a good devotee. And her, she and Jani Tanya are such a wonderful couple. And that just speaks very well about the Guru Maharaj. He has such first class disciples. So I pray that we all stay very close together.
Sevapri Prabhu ki jai.
Your wife said you want to speak a few words.
Please come forward.
It's always very ecstatic to be here, especially New Year. Swami Maharaj. I remember years ago, I was in the Houston temple, and at that time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was GDC at large, I think they call it. So I had been sent over to Houston by Bhaktivedanta from the southern USA zone, and we had a choice whether we would go back to the other zone or stay here. So I always appreciated very much Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj's very powerful spiritual leadership. So I decided to stay here to get his association, to learn how to be a better preacher, to get inspired by him. So it's this is a real spiritual home for me actually here in the Dallas country, because we spent many years here together doing things. In Houston as well. I had the good opportunity when there was very few disciples in the beginning. It was mostly just God brothers, and so we had God brothers were doing the tape ministry. So it was a very good opportunity. I got to hear his tapes. Every tape that was recorded, I was listening to it, and it was a very, very nice opportunity for me to grow as a preacher by hearing his expert preaching. So it was a great blessing for me to get to hear so many of his, every tape that was that was coming. I was hearing them all very nicely and learning from them. So I often think about you, and it's a great inspiration for me to think about how you're serving Prabhupada so nicely. It's a really great inspiration for me, how dedicated you are to Srila Prabhupada. As your younger brother, I really look up to you as my older brother. And I always pray that I can be pleasing to you in all of my thoughts, words, and deeds. Hare Krishna.
Sankarshan Prabhu ki.
As I said earlier this morning, first of all, I'm sorry that some of you came late because of the flooding in Houston, but everything was recorded. So I request that the Houston devotees who missed, they can listen and watch the videos and make up everything. But as I said, there's no doubt that whatever was said here today, it certainly is individual and personal, and it's referring to me, and especially the anecdotes are unique because each of us is individual. But the glorification of Guru and the principle of disciplic succession is that the mercy comes through the disciplic succession. And some of you weren't here for my class this morning, but I spent my class glorifying the various spiritual masters in Dallas and Houston, and there were about, I think, 25 spiritual masters represented by disciples. And I think that whatever was said about today, about the help and love and mercy received from me in particular, could easily be said as well for each of these personalities. And it is said at different times of the year. We should say something about the lowly devotee. You know, in religion, there's a high type of religious understanding, and there's a low type of religious understanding. And high and low today are usually reversed. What is low is considered better than what's high. In other words, the small is now looked upon more closely as being very important. So it's easy to see the importance of Guru, because Guru is very high. Guru, on behalf of Krishna, is worshipped on an equal level with the Lord. So it's very easy to appreciate and love. Maybe not so easy, but it is easier to appreciate and love the Guru than a fellow devotee. But it seems to me that unless and until we learn to love each and every devotee as we try to love our Guru, and extending that until and unless we learn to love every living being as we love our Guru, then it's going to be very difficult for us to really go back to Godhead. So at least we can start with our fellow devotees. If it's too much to learn to love the materialists at this stage, then at least we should be able to extend our care and appreciation and love to each of the devotees. Now Kirtan is here with us, and I don't know how many more days or weeks she's going to be with us. And naturally,
because there's imminent thought of separation, we appreciate her. And for the reasons I have said in the last 2 days of classes, because she is really a sadhu, a saintly personality who has no material desires, and she has performed a lifetime of service as a nurse, and now in the last 10 years or more as a devotee. I wish that each of you could become more free of material attachments and become more selfless, as her example shows, as any advanced devotee's example has tried to illustrate. I appreciate that family responsibilities cannot be neglected. But at the same time, we have to recognize that they are not everything and they will not last forever. And again, some of you are not here, but I gave a lecture either yesterday or the day before, and I reminded those who were here that one is supposed to retire at the age of 50. And that's if you can live for 100 years of age. If you only live for 80, you're supposed to retire at 40. Now, if someone retires at 40, people would think that this is really unusual. Why are you retiring so early in life? But we have to understand that the purpose for retiring from material responsibilities is so that we can cultivate our Krishna consciousness. So those of you who are reaching the ages of 50, or who have already done so, I would request you to please finish up your family responsibilities and retire. And once you retire, I will be very pleased to meet with you and plan out how you can make your life perfect. And then you'll be able to get the kind of ending that Kirtan is getting. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible. You can't expect to get as much love as she's being given unless you can give that kind of love. And it's very difficult to give that love if you're still focusing the love on only 1 or 2 or 3 people. So it's very important that you become detached. And that detachment doesn't mean having to leave your wife or husband. Husband and wife together can become a little bit detached and practice together, serving others. It's not required, as we heard the example of Vidura and Manjari, my disciples in Houston, 80 and 82 years old. It's not required that you necessarily have to leave your wife. If you're very Brahminical, and if the wife is well looked after, that is possible, but it's not essential. But at least you can give up the daily maintenance affairs. So those of you who are approaching that age or have done so, or those of you who are younger, I would request you to start banking some money so that you have enough money to retire and you can be provided for simply. And then let us talk about how you can utilize your Krishna consciousness for benefiting others. This is what human life is meant for. Human life is meant to be sacrificed in service to others. And our movement is going to have a huge change, a huge injection of life when the Vanaprastha ashram begins to be seen in our movement. Just as it got its initial burst of enthusiasm from the Brahmachari and Brahmacharini ashram, it got strength later from the Grihastha ashram, but next it has to get that from the Vanaprastha ashram. And so, I think this is a very important stage, and I would urge you that those of you who are coming to that age, the notice is now given. And I am patient, but I'm also very determined. So you'll have to know this is what I want of you, because this is what Krishna wants of you. And I won't
make it too uncomfortable, but I will not be satisfied unless you gradually give your life to Krishna. Mother Puja said that she decided not to get married, and she gave her life completely to Krishna throughout her devotional life. If some of you can do that, fine. But if not, you can go through married life, fulfill it nicely, but let us come to the point where, as I said to Madan Mohan, you just have to give up your freedom. When you give up your freedom, then Krishna can use you as an instrument. Krishna Shakti Madan Mohan did, huge service for those 3 or 4 months while I was there and for another 3 or 4 months before I got there. It wasn't possible for them to maintain it continually, but it may be again that they will come to that stage. At least they know what that is now. Among the Buddhists in Thailand, they have to, for 6 months, become a monk. Why? Simply to get the experience of what it means to be fully dedicated. So each person here, take that opportunity. Looks like Dharma got a couple of weeks to be with me, 5 weeks, and there's some inspiration came into his heart. So it's very important that we do this. It's not only with me. I don't say it has to be personally with me. There are many exalted Vaishnavas, just like Kunti was writing me how much faith she has in Pritappaja Maharaj. You can see, these boys go with Pritappaja Maharaj and their lives are permanently changed because he's such a saint. So it's so vital to get association. And you would be surprised, sometimes there are saints living among you. Just like I say this truthfully, that Mahatma not only has the name, but he is a saintly person. And if you can invest faith in him, then you can bring out from him tremendous Krishna conscious mercy, and you can get great shelter. I've used this only as an example. I think it's practically could be said that potentially everybody has so much more ability than they are now demonstrating. And if you can just start to repose more faith in each other, it is a way of empowering each other. And this is not artificial. There's nothing more discouraging than when people lose faith in you. And there's nothing more strengthening than when people do have faith in you. So if you show faith in someone and you sustain that faith, they will rise to live up to your expectation of them. And that will help them greatly. And then they can help you more. So all of this, the whole point of this ceremony is really to help us in our Krishna consciousness. That's really what this is for. And this movement is meant, Prabhupada said, that he said, I will become satisfied if this movement goes down in the history books for having saved the world. That's what Srila Prabhupada, that was and is his expectation. It's nothing less than that. He felt that the world is being, going to hell. And he felt that this Krishna consciousness movement had the ability to save the world. But it is upon us and the generations to come after us whether or not this will take place. So we have a huge responsibility which should not be forgotten. I realize each one of you has your day-to-day duties, your jobs, your family, your body, what to speak of, just maintaining the body. We have so many things to look after. But let us not forget, finally, what the highest need and purpose in life is while we're doing all of these other things. Kirtan is at her end now, so it doesn't seem to me that she's lamenting that I wish I could have done. Because her only desire was she wanted to be in Krishna consciousness, means in Vrindavan consciousness. And somehow I think she's gotten that granted to her. I worry a great deal about how I'm going to be at the last moment of my life. Whether I can be a good example and whether I will feel satisfied. This worries me very greatly. Whether I can feel at the end of my life that I've done everything I could to spread Krishna consciousness, and am I Krishna conscious or not? We don't know when that moment will come. We don't know. I just got word that my very dear God sister, the wife of Tamal Krishna Prabhupada, she passed away, and she's a very dear God sister, disciple of Prabhupada, and she left her body. Suddenly, she had a heart attack, and she gave up her body. We do not know when this will happen to each and every one of us. I don't mean to shock anybody here. Forgive me if I did, but most of you don't know her, so I didn't think it would shock you. But it did bring to us that remembrance. So Kirtana got her desire. She wanted to be here for Vyasa Puja. And I'm glad that Krishna was kind to her like that. So far I can see right now, as long as she's living, that her room and her presence will be the best place to be in Krishna consciousness. And I urge you all to just, spend time there. It's like walking into Vrindavan. There are many other people I would have liked to have heard, but the problem is that most people have a problem speaking from the heart. Otherwise, we could have learned a great deal from some people here today. My heart is very open. I can speak anything because I don't feel that there's any reason to hide anything. But I wish that devotees could learn to actually open their heart. Because that's what the exchanges are in the spiritual world. They're from the heart. When the feelings of the heart come out of the heart and they go through the eyes, and they're exchanged between Krishna and his devotees in Vrindavan, and all the feelings come from the heart and they extend through the eyes. So we have to learn how to trust each other and not feel that we're so vulnerable that by speaking loving feelings that we will get hurt. We will not get hurt. If you speak, as it is said, Guyam Akyati Prichate. If you can speak from the heart confidentially and disclose your inner feelings, and you do it with people who love you, then nothing will go wrong. So please know that when you have difficulties in the days or months or years to come, that you turn to each other. There has to be some devotees that you can give your faith and love and trust to talk with. And again, try to understand that there are so few devotees of ISKCON in the world today. There's 5 billion people on this planet. There are lots of people who very, very few people know about Krishna. Most of the people do believe in God or worship God or know about God. But we've got a special take on God. Our God, our conception of God is really, really special, Krishna. And it would be so nice to share our understanding of God with other people. If people ask me, why did you become a devotee? There are many reasons, but now I can say, if they ask me why you're still a devotee, I have to say that probably for 2 reasons. One, it's too late to do anything else, practically speaking. And the second reason is because of Krishna. I I think that I want to be with Krishna and Radharani and the gopis and the cowherd boys. I want to live in Vrindavan. That is the goal. And I want to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. And I can't find that in any other religion, and that's why I stay in this religion. I don't say that other religions cannot take you back to the kingdom of God, but the part of the kingdom of God I want to be in is in these places, in Mayapur and Vrindavan. And that's why I'm a Krishna devotee, not because of anything else. And it makes it nicer also, I would like to also say I'm also in this movement because of all the love and devotion that exists, but I don't answer that yet because I haven't found that to be always the case. I do find it, I've got a lot of very loving friends, but I'd like it to go a little bit further than that. If I could really see the mood that is in this temple today, all the time, then I would be able to say when someone asks me, why are you still a devotee? I would just say, for the love of it, for the feelings I get between each other. Now there should be no reason, of course there are reasons why we can't sustain what we have here today. But we could work towards sustaining some part of it, some degree of it. It requires, as you see, you didn't go to work today. That's part of it. You've got to make the time. You've got to make the time. So, anyway, this is just, I guess I can stop now because we went way longer than we said we would. And we have a few more parts of the ceremony, right? We're going to do a Pushpanjali. And, can we do all that at the same time? Can you why don't you do the Arati, the vocal offering, and the Pushpanjalis all simultaneously? You don't have to put the foodstuffs right here. And just put them behind me. Because I'm the representative of God, I can eat in any direction. Just make the offering behind me, then we can do the flower, because it's getting late. We do the flower offering, and at the same time someone can be doing the arati, and you can just offer the prayers quickly, and Advaita can lead a kirtan. And then where will prasadam be served? It will be served in the hall upstairs. In our sanctuary upstairs, right after. Okay, well, I thank everybody so far for the nice sermon. What is the rest of the program?
And then after the prasadam, there will be the program in the evening that starts at 5:30.
5:30 there will be a program in the evening, which will be at
right in the temple room.
In the temple room at 5:30 again. So after prasadam, you have some time to relax, and then we'll meet again.
Yes, thanks very much. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai.
Yeah, it's time for Pushpanjali. Come on, it's time. Yep, right now.
Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pasyata Nisatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Iti Namine Pushpanjali 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 Pushpanjali.
Everyone up for obeisances?
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Iti Namine Pushpanjali 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 Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Dinamine Pushpanjali 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 Nagurudev Ki
Now we'll do the Guru Puja. Wait for Prabhu, please chant.
Thank you.